Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yachodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yachodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yachodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Sadashri Srimad Abhay Charna Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 18, King Yayati regains his youth. Texts 30, 31 and 32. So 30 and 31 has no purport. Just I will read it, then 32 we will chant together. Text 30. Nagushaya sutam tattva sahasarmishtayoshana tamahara rajan charmishtam adastape nakarhichit. Translation. When Sukracharya gave Devyani in marriage to Yayati, he had Sarmishta to go with her, but he warned the king, "My dear king, never allow this girl, Sarmishta, to lie with you in your bed." Just to remind ourselves that what we are reading, that Sharmishta, Devyani, they are friends. Devyani is a daughter of Sukracharya and Sharmishta is from Kshatriya family, daughter of a king. And with their friends, they are um, sporting in the water, taking bath and in some kunda. And that time the Lord Shiva and Parvati riding on the bull on the way, they are passing by that way. And by seeing Lord Shiva, immediately the girls, all of them, ran and get their cloth and cover themselves. And while doing that, Sharmishta took Devyani's cloth and by mistake, because they are in hurry, So by mistake she just took, and then Devyani thought, oh, I'm from Brahmin family, and my guru is your father's, my father is your father's guru, so you are lower than me. How can you take, my cloth is, you should not take like that. She start to say something, then Sharmishta also start speak some harsh words, and then the quarrel happened. Then Devyani, Sharmishta pushed Devyani into the well, and she was naked, and she fell into the well, and no one was there, and all other girls are left. And then King Yayati passing by that way, and then he saw that Devyani is in the well, and she's naked. Immediately he took his upper cloth and gave her to cover, and then with hand he lifted her. Then, because in the Vedic system the man captured the girl's hand is considered like getting married. So then, of course, each other they had also attraction. Then they spoke each other, and then they agreed to get married, even though it was not Anuloma marriage, is Pratiloma marriage. But still is understood this is by divine nature, some arrangement happened, so it's okay, because King Yayati is very person who followed the Dharma, and he understood this is some divine arrangement, so he accepted. And then after all this incident, the Devyani comes to home and telling all the incident, what happened to her father, Sukracharya. Then Sukracharya see that, oh, now my daughter has to be married to King Yayati, so, and I have to please her. So then Sukracharya coming to the Sarmishta's father, who is a king, and asking to help. And then Devyani also was there, and then Devyani is asking to the king that when I get married to King Yayati, and you have to send your daughter as a servant girl, to serve me. And then the Vrishaparva, the father of Sarmishta, he understands that Sukracharya is great personality, and he is very powerful, and he is Brahmana. And if I disobey his order, or if I displease him, and it will bring big disaster. So it's dangerous thing. So better I please him and get some gain out of it. So, and he decided, okay, I will send my daughter with your daughter whenever she married, and she will go as a servant. And then now we see that Sukracharya also is giving in this verse the warning that even though you send your daughter with my daughter as a servant girl, but still be careful that, he's warning to the King Yayati before getting married that, you should never allow this Sarmishta to be with your, in your bed. Means you should not have a sex with her. So because Prabhupada, in the previous purport, we see that the Kshatriya, when he married not only one girl, many times it happens that the girl's sisters or other friends, they also go with them, and the king, because he is capable to maintain them, and Prabhupada explained, because always in the society, the number of girls are more than the men, so one man can marry more than one girl, so it's allowed in the Vedic system. So similarly, also Prabhupada explained that even sometimes these servant women also have sex with the king and then get a child, and they call Dasaputra. So like in Mahabharata, we all know that Vidura was such a birth he had, and therefore he was not allowed to rule the kingdom. So, but they will be maintained by the king, but they will not be, in the heritage, to get all the things. So that was the system. So therefore, here Sukracharya is a warning to King Yayati that you should never allow this Sarmishta, have children with you. So, when such a warning happens, then what happens? So most probably is, the warning is broken. They have sex. We know the story. Who read Bhagavatam, they know that later what happens. Anyway, now continue to read the next verse. Translation, O King Parikshit, upon seeing Devayani with a nice son, Sharmishta once approached the King Ayati at the appropriate time for conception in a secluded place. She requested the king, the husband of her friend Devayani, to enable her to have a son also. So now, naturally, Devayani got the children, and then, by seeing that, Sarmishta also have a desire. It's a typical woman's mentality that when, neighbors purchase something, and then the woman immediately, oh, I should also get it. Anytime I hear from our Grahastha devotees, from husbands, and they come and and they discuss, oh, Prabhuji, this happened, what happened? Then, they see that Mataji purchased new sari and, some machine, some, washing machine, that. And then my wife also wants the same thing, So even devotees, family, we hear these things. So it's natural, because women is, Sri is called, means they expand in many ways, not only the children and family expansion and the other material things also, they go on expanding. When the pots wala comes, every time they have to purchase at least one small pot for 10 rupees at least. Always they buy things, even though it's not used for years, it's just kept in the boxes somewhere. So similarly, now the Devayani had children, and Sharmishta saw that, and immediately she also desired, oh, I should also have. Why I should not have children? So immediately she approached the king, and he also find the suitable time. And so now let's see what's next verse is. So please repeat now these verses a purport. Rajaputrya arhitaham apadhe dharmam cha aveksha dharmavit smaran shukravachah kale dishtham eva apyapathyatha rajaputrhatitopathe dharmam chavekshayo dharmavit smaran chukravacha kale dishtam yevapyapathyatha rajaputrhyartitopatye dharmam chaveksha dharmavit smaran chukravacha kale dishtam yevapathyatha rajaputrhyartitopatye dharmam chaveksha dharmavit smaran chukravacha kale dishtam yevapyapathyatha. Please chant. Rajaputrhyartitopatye Rajaputrhyartitopatye dharmam chaveksha dharmavit smaran chukravacha dishtam yevapyapathyatha. Mataji. Rajaputrhyartitopatye dharmam chaveksha dharmavit smaran chukravacha kale tishtam yevapyapathyatha. Rajaputrya, by Sarmista, who was the daughter of a king. Arhitaha, being requested. Apatye, for a son. Dharmam, religious principles. Cha, as well as. Aveksha, considering. Dharmavit, aware of all religious principles. Smaran, remembering. Sukravachaha, the warning of Sukracharya. Kale, at the time. Dishtam, circumstantially. Eva, indeed. Abhyapatyata, accepted to fulfill the desire of Sarmishta. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. When Princess Sarmishta begged King Ayati for a son, The king was certainly aware of the principles of religion, and therefore he agreed to fulfill her desire. Although he remembered the warning of Sukracharya, he thought of this union as a desire of the Supreme, and thus he had sex with Sarmishta. Purport. King Yayati was completely aware of the duty of a Kshatriya. When a Kshatriya is approached by a woman, he cannot deny her. This is a religious principle. Consequently, when Dharmaraja Yudhishthira saw Arjuna unhappy after Arjuna returned from Dwaraka, he asked whether Arjuna had refused a woman who had begged for a son. Although Maharaja Ayati remembered Sukracharya's warning, he could not refuse Sarmishta. He thought it wise to give her a son, and thus he had a sexual intercourse with her after her menstrual period. This kind of lust is not against religious principles, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:11. Dharma viritho bhuteshu kamosmi. Sex life is not contrary to the principles of religion. It is sanctioned by Krishna because Sarmishta, the daughter of a king, had begged Ayati for a son. Their combination was not lust but an act of religion. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shamate Bhakti Vikas Swami Talamine. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Talamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prashatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Ghor Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again translation. When a princess Sarmishta begged King Yayati for a son, the king was certainly aware of the principles of religion, and therefore he agreed to fulfill her desire. Although he remembered the warning of Sukracharya, he thought of this union as the desire of the Supreme, and thus he had sex with Sarmishta. So, in the previous verse, as we heard, that Sukracharya warned, but still, because Sarmishta approached and Ayati is a Kshatriya, he cannot refuse. Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport. So it's many times this thing is happening in Mahabharata also when Pandavas in the forest, this, who was that? What was her name? Idimbi. She approached Bhima. She was attracted to Bhima and she approached, and when he was not interested, and then Yudhishthira said, no, you can't say, you are a Kshatriya, you should accept her. So it is allowed for Kshatriya like that, and then and they cannot deny. So Prabhupada many times he says, therefore Prabhupada also quoting this another incident in Mahabharata that Arjuna, when he returned from Dwaraka, and Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking, so did you refuse a woman who had begged for a son? Because he was sad. Of course, it did not happen anything like that, but Arjuna was sad because Krishna left the world after he finished his pastime, so he was sad. But there is a description in Mahabharata that if someone is sad, there are many reasons why someone becomes sad. So there are different kind of, how you say, inauspicious things. If you see and you become sad, and if you do some certain activity, also you become sad. So there is a different things are there. So whole list in Mahabharata is given, like if you have a sex in inappropriate way, you become sad, and if you see your own stool after passing, you become sad, and there are so many kind of things listed. So one of the thing is that if Kshatriya refuse a woman who approached for a son, then he also becomes sad. So therefore, he is inquiring. So means is a confirming. Why here is quoted? Because Yudhishthira, he is Dharma Raja. He knows what is Dharma. Especially Prabhupada is quoting here. That's the point, because he knows what is Dharma. So if a Kshatriya refuse women, that is not dharmic. So therefore you become sad. So that is one of the question he asked. So therefore Prabhupada is quoting here. And also here Prabhupada is explaining, even though Yayati remember the warning of Sukracharya, it's not he forgotten or, he is completely lusty, desire took over him, and, he remembered, but still, because he know what is Dharma, and therefore he could not refuse it. That's one reason why he, also had a sex with Sarmishta. So the point is, Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that if it is the sex life as an act of religious, act to have children to good propagation is allowed. That's not wrong. As Krishna says, Dharma vireto bhuteshu kamoshmi paradarshana. Krishna says, I am that sex life, if it is according to the Dharma, if it is according to religious principles. So, sex is, even though it's a binding, source of binding in this material world, but still it is allowed. But there is a restriction. Should be for propagation of children, not otherwise. If it's just for sense gratification, that is not allowed. So the responsibility of parents to bring those children, they have to take birth and give birth to the children, and then they have to, brought up in Krishna conscious. That is the responsibility of, parents. Then it's allowed. So therefore, Krishna says, and when Krishna appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his pastime, we all know that he was very much restricting women to come even nearby to offer pranams. Even offering pranams, they should do it from the distance place. He was very much restricting that, very strict in that. And there is an incident, Srila Prabhupada is quoting in one place, that Sivananda Sena, one of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's great devotee, and he used to come when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Puri. Sivananda Sen used to come time to time, have Jagannath Darshan and have association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He used to come from Bengal all the way with a group of devotees. So one time when he came with wife and children, whole family. And that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed that Sivananda Sen's wife also was pregnant. They had already some children, and also she was pregnant. And that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, to Sivananda saying that this time when you get a child, you should give him a name Paramananda Das. So means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is approving. He knows that, if a woman is pregnant is by sex. So that sex is not condemned. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is approved that. So because he's according to the scriptural injunction, he's according to Dharma. He's a great devotee and he is bringing up his children in Krishna consciousness very nicely. So why not? So, but other hand, also in another case, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he dealt it with Chota Haridas, Junior Haridas. He was a sannyasi, he was a renunciant, and he was associated with the Lord, going around different places for preaching. And one time he just in the mind, he desired to have sex. That's it. He did not really have a sex, physically. Just some desire was there. But immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he's in the Paramatma feature, he can understand, whatever, we desire. Everyone's heart, he is there. So he could understand immediately. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that he should not be anymore in our association. He should be, abandoned. He should go away. But later, many other Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, when they approached him, to give, some mercy for this Chota Haridas, please accept him again. He's very sorry for it. And but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very angry. So if you want him, you keep him, I will go away. That was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's reaction. That much he was, very strict in that case. But in Sivananda Sena's case is completely different. Why? Because Sivananda's case is according to religious principles. So it's an approved one. And also, we know that Srila Prabhupada several times quotes that his own spiritual master's statement that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he himself says that if it is, if I'm going to get Krishna conscious children, I'm ready to have 100 times sex. But why should I have sex just for producing cats and dogs? That was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's statement. So the point is that sex is not completely condemned. Like Prabhupada explained that ahara, nidra, bhaya, maitunam, these four things, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, these are basic necessities. Like a man is a very difficult, not only man, any jiva, difficult to live without eating. Eating is a very, very basic necessity the bodily needs. Even if you are sick, eating, even though is very much reduced, or even sometimes doctors say just fast, but still there is some, you can't just, completely, fast. You have to eat something, some very strict diet they give. So something is allowed to eat. If you want to become normal from the disease condition, then you have to follow this restriction. So similarly, the sex also is a bodily need. Yeah. So, but there should be restriction. That is the point. Even though it's essential, if it's restricted, if it's according to the Vedic injunction, this eating, mating, depending, and all these things, or ahara, nitra, maitra, if it is according to the Vedic injunction, then one doesn't have to be fair. One doesn't have to have any afraid of this material existence. Material nature will not punish them because they are doing these things according to the Vedic injunction. So slowly, slowly they will advance themselves. So therefore, in the human society, the marriage system is given. So according to Vedic injunction, if one desires to have a sex, then you get married and then you have a children, and then you have a very good children, then it's no problem. And to get children also, there is very much restriction is there. When to approach a woman. Like here we see the King Yayati, even though he agreed to Sarmishta that have a sex and have children, but he's not just immediately, okay, let's go. Not like that. There is appropriate time after the menstrual period, then, there is this, when men and women unite, then they can get the children. So, that is the point. If it's not restricted, if any time, whenever you want, day, night, and without any restriction, then it become like animal. Actually, even animal, they don't do it. Animals also, they have a particular time, and only those time they have a sex in a particular period in a year. But the man is, if they are not restricted, then they become worse than animal. Then there is no chance for them to advance. They cannot even live as a human life. Then where is the question of advancing in spiritual life? Definitely there is no chance. So one can get, children by engaging in sex life. And that children, if they are brought up very good character, good children, then the good children is very good for the family, for the society, for all world. If good children always is, is good. Otherwise, if it is Varna Shankara, as in Bhagavad Gita, we hear that inappropriate way, that children are born and then they become Varna Shankara, unwanted population. Like today in the society we see people wants to have unrestricted sex and they have it, and then the result is just unwanted population. So a materialistic person always, desire to have a sex, but they don't, believe that everything is managed by the supreme power, and the nature is a witness and the demigods are witness, whatever you do. So they think, I'm engaged in sex life, I'm enjoying my life, and no one is seeing. So I'm just, have as much as I want, all the enjoyment. This is what they think. But that's not the fact. There are so many witnesses are there. There are so many demigods are there. The day, night, air, and everything is witnessing every single activity, every single moment of our activities, moments is our witness. And moreover, the Lord Himself is in everyone's heart. He knew what we are thinking, what we are speaking, what we are doing, everything He knows. We don't know what others think, what others are doing. But Lord, He knew, everyone else is what they are doing, what they are thinking, what they are desiring, everything. Like Chota Haridas incident, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately he knew. So, you can't escape. So therefore, the law is given in the Shastra. So if we know this is good, this is not good, this is according to Dharma, this is not according to Dharma, then if you follow that, then you don't have to be, afraid of anything. The nature will not punish you. Otherwise, as Krishna says, Devi Hesha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. The Maya becomes very strong, very difficult to overcome. This word is spoken by Krishna, Duratyaya, he says, means it's very difficult to overcome. I mean, if Krishna says, of course, it's not for Krishna, but for us, he says it's Duratyaya. It's very difficult to overcome. And we know, when we are, trying to control our senses, our mind, and it's not so easy. It's very difficult. So much disturbance comes, especially in this modern society. So much disturbance. Therefore, the materialistic people, at least devotees, have some choice, chanting holy name, associating with devotees, taking only prasadam. All these things controls our senses get purified. But the materialistic people, they have no any means to control their senses and mind. And then they just unrestricted sex, they engage, and the result, immediately, women become pregnant, and then they don't want to grow up the children, and they don't want to take responsibility, and then the result is abortion. First of all, the illicit sex itself is a sinful activity, and then they don't want to take a responsibility and they do the abortion. Again, they commit sinful activity. Then go on, they are committing sinful activity. So they become completely asuric. So Krishna says, Asurim yonim apanna mura janmani janmani. Janmani janmani, the life after life. What they do? Asurim yonim. They take a birth in the Asuric family only, again. The suffering go on increasing. And practically we see today, if you just, see 20 years back in your life, everyone can experience it. The society was much more, people were very cool and they were much more intelligent and they were not so much disturbed like now and they didn't have so much problems like now. If we go, 40 years, 50 years back, even much better. But this so-called advancement in this modern society is bringing more and more problems. Instead of helping people to advance really in controlling their senses and mind, but they just give way to more indulge in the sense gratification. So therefore, people suffer here more and more. This even though this modern society becomes so demoniac, they don't want to even become pregnancy. So they have so many these contraceptive methods. In spite of that, they have so many contraceptive methods. Still, there are every day thousands of pregnancies aborted. Abortions are happening. It's so crazy. Today's society is completely. If you see one side, there are hundreds and thousands of abortions happening. On the other side, if you see, there are hundreds and thousands of families without children. They are just hankering, at least, can I get one children? They go all the temples, they do all the pujas, all the rituals, all the, whatever they, they are trying to get, they are not able to get the children, other side. So many men become impotent. They are not able to give children. So much tension, so much pressure. It's completely madness is happening in the society. So the point is here that sex is, if it's not restricted, even if it is in the family, the grahastha, then it's just going to ruin everything. And we see that Ajamila, when he was victimized by illicit sex with a prostitute, and what was the result? Completely ruined all. He left all his tradition, all the puja, worshipping Lord, and everything he left. Not only that, he became completely sinful person. He did all kinds of sinful activity, stealing, robbing, and all kinds of things, lying. So all kinds of sinful activities also. Why? Because only one thing, that he just indulged in illicit sex. So Srila Prabhupada writes in one of the purport that prostitute hunting is so abominable that sex with a prostitute can ruin one's character, destroy one's exalted position, and plunder all one's money. Therefore, illicit sex is strictly prohibited. So we know even the Bilvamangal Thakur's life also, how he was attracted to this Chintamani, and then, and he was ready to go in that midnight, and when father was just died and the dead body is still lying on the house, he did not even want to take part in these rituals and to do the cremation, but he just wanted to go in the middle of night to see the women. And on the way, so much struggle, heavy storm, and heavy, he has to cross the river. And no boatman wants to come. And then, he just, by swimming, he is trying to go. And then in the water, the dead body is coming, and he thought it is some, wooden piece. So I will catch and cross. But later he realized this is just someone's dead body. And then he crossed the river, and he comes and he has to climb over the wall because house is locked in the heavy storm. No one will expect somebody will come that time in the house. So, and then he see that some rope is hanging, so catching and climbing up. Then he realized it is not rope, it's a snake. So much risking to just have sex with a prostitute. You see how much it makes a man completely mad. So therefore, Prabhupada says this is prohibited. Is always sinful. Always. It's not that, there is some things like if a king, punishing, for some crime, a man, he gives a death sentence. It's not, crime. But some things, sometimes is a crime, sometimes it's not a crime. Like if same thing, if someone kills for a personal, revenge or something, then it is considered as a crime. But some things like this illicit sex, drinking alcohol, meat eating, all these things are always, especially now in Kali Yuga, is considered always sinful activity. Is always wrong. So, therefore, to have a sex, to become a father, mother is very big responsibility. Therefore, Shastra says that Guror nasasyad, swajano nasasyad, pita nasasya, janani nasasya. This verse say that if you cannot help the dependents get out of this repeated birth and death, then you should not become a spiritual master or a father or a husband or mother. So why? Because if you are not capable to do, if you are not capable to deliver them from this repeated birth and death, then why do you become father, mother? Don't do it. That's what warning the Shastra. So very much is important this following these regulative principles, especially in our devotional life. We have to follow this 4 regulative principle, which is, we promised during initiation. Even before that, we supposed to follow. And then you have to be very careful, because nowadays this prostitution is not that you have to go to the brothel house, have sex, then only you become sinner. Actually, like everyone has a smartphone, that itself is enough, you become great sinner. You know what I'm speaking, because so much of this pornography is there, and then you just see it, and then so much desire you develop, and then you have all kind of, desire comes, and then you do all kind of sinful activity. Then it's enough. You don't have to go to brothel house. It's not only prostitutes in the brothel house. It's in your own hand. If you are not careful, if you are not aware of it. So you have to be very careful. Anything you want to break, any principle, this mobile phone is enough today. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say, asasanga tyaga Vaishnava achar. Vaishnava is recognized by, one who is dissociating with asatsanga, who is not a devotee. But this mobile phone can give you 24 hours asatsanga. If you are not aware, if you are not careful. So like that, in that way, that, in every way, this one mobile phone is enough. Internet is computer, if you are not careful, this is enough. You don't have to go anywhere and search for it, So we have to be very careful, otherwise we become sinful, then there is no way, we become lower than animals, then where is the question of spiritual life and then advancement in spiritual life? There is no way. Hare Krishna. So I stop here. Is there any question or comment? Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, that was untimely united by parents, then the demons were born. It's a very good example. Yes. And today, most of the society, most of the population is like that. Just by drinking liquors, and they just indulge in the sex, and then you see what happens to the societies. Most of the population is completely mad. Hare Krishna. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.